You are
Welcome
live.
to the International Outreach Committee meeting for March the 28th of 2021. I am your host, the chair of this committee, Jason Wright, and we are accompanied by Marcus Ruiz Evans, president of Yes California, as well as member of the committee. Good evening, Marcus.
Good evening, sir.
So I'm just going to go over these 8 points that I've laid out. Hopefully we can get to them all tonight. If not, then, wherever we leave off is where we start next week. Number 1, Baja Independencia. What organization will team with us from Baja and, the Movimiento de Baja Independencia? Did I say that correctly?
Yep, perfect.
Awesome.
Perfect.
So we need to figure out an organization, an actual nonprofit or whatever that will be our counterpart on this project with Baja. This is, of course, talking about the formation of the cultural embassies.
Right.
The air quotes, not an embassy.
Right.
So number 2 will be what possible locations and why. So for Baja, our folks that have been reaching out to us from Baja, like Cuauhtémoc.
Right.
My apologies for the stutter on the name.
I think that's right.
He had very clearly suggested that their end they want to do in Tijuana. And so that makes me think, okay, they have a clear vision on where they want to put this thing. What about us? So that'll be point number 2.
Okay.
Number 3 will be, what is the cost to start one of these cultural embassies? I know that it can go as high or low as you really put into it or whatever, but also I know that ultimately it's not some huge monetary cost attached to these things, usually. So just kind of want to go over a little bit of that if possible. Number 4, what is a reasonable time frame, start to finish, for putting together one of these cultural embassies? For that, I plan on asking you some of your experience with the Moskva embassy that we have, the one that we've already done. Number 5 will be a continuation from, or a spillover from last week, marketing and media angles, talking about, these embassies and how can we get the message out there better, as well as should we control the narrative at least slightly, and if so, how? Number 6, directly related to Scottish outreach, the Wings of Scotland organization, I guess, supports the ALBA party. The SNP is currently in power, so we may not actually be able to legally, feasibly reach out directly to SNP. However, this other one is not currently in power. So possible discussion on reaching out to folks from Wings of Scotland and or the ALBA party. Number 7, an announcement to Daniel Rice, our ambassador to the from the Texas National Movement to the Cal Exit Congress. Got an announcement specifically for our Texas brothers and sisters. And then number 8, discussing the possibility of a future project to tour the Moscow embassy. I know there's some stuff online, digital, some pictures and whatnot. I know it's also not a huge thing to walk through, like the museum exhibit that you just went through about independent California. I would kind of like to see something where it's like a digital walkthrough, though. And I'm not sure if it's out there, but that's why I put it on there for us to potentially discuss. Is there anything that you would like to see added onto this agenda, Marcus?
No, you're tearing it up.
Okay. So then, let's go right on to topic number 1, Baja Independencia. What organization will team with us on this? Now, I've kind of got the impression that Movimiento de Independencia de Baja Independencia, is they are their own organization, much like Yes California. Is that correct?
Yes, and they are official partners with us, and they said many times that they would agree to have an embassy, as you pointed out, with Yes California, Galaxy Movement.
Okay, awesome. So that gives us a very clear answer. MIBC, right?
Yeah.
Is official contact.
I'm trying to find it right now. Oops. All right. No one's Baja Independence.
Well, so that gives us a very clear answer for number 1. So then number 2, location. That's what they say, right?
Yeah.
Now, again, as we mentioned, MIBC has expressed desire to have their California embassy in Tijuana. I don't remember anyone being opposed to that.
No, nobody was opposed. I remember that. Nobody was opposed.
Yeah. And so that leads me to what possible locations, what cities, townships, even just general county or area, right? Where should we consider for this?
Well, they were going to largely direct the search. So originally we were working with Chavez, and he was either going to Cuauhtémoc and Chavez both said that if we sent them money, they could rent out a office space really cheap in Tijuana. And so it'd be a matter of them picking a place that wasn't dangerous for the public to go to and really cheap. And they were starting to look at that. And then Jay Chavez had to take a step back, but then Cuauhtémoc is still there. But it was all there. They were saying, yeah, let's have an embassy. Let's have it in Tijuana. You can have one there somewhere. We were thinking LA, maybe Fresno. But it was about price. So they were going to look for a cheap place to find it. And it went to Jay, but Jay's taking
so they're gonna so what I'm talking specifically, not the location in Tijuana, not the California embassy to Baja, the Baja embassy to California in California. That's what I'm talking about, location.
Okay. Got it.
They're not gonna find the location for us, right?
No, we would find our own location.
Okay.
Yes, we would find our own location, and we really hadn't gotten into that too much. I think it was just
yeah, and that's one reason why I'm bringing it up. So I heard you say LA and Fresno. Is that correct?
those were just initial places. One, because LA is so close to Baja, and it may have a cheap place. There's also a lot of Latin people there, so we thought it's kind of close in proximity. There's a lot of Latinos there, so they may find it interesting, the idea that there's a Baja Independencia, which would be publicity for Yes California. And that's still true. The other part about Fresno was just that it's like the cheapest real estate that we also have a member in who could staff something. That's the only reason. But we didn't look into it nearly as much as we should have.
Okay. Yeah, and one thing that I had considered was Sacramento, because it's the capital of California, and why not give them a spot in the capital city, right? Then again, it would not be so cost effective. Also, staffing it would probably be an issue. And yeah, then you have to consider, how much visitation, how much foot traffic is it really going to see? And obviously, when the majority of Californians live in LA and San Diego, part of Southern California, well, that means the highest level of foot traffic is going to be down there. So I think LA area might actually be really good for us to consider for most of our embassy. I mean, obviously for indigenous nations, should they choose to want to open a cultural embassy with us, obviously it would be different locations based on their wants and needs and location. But for these ones that are outside of the current confines of the California border, I think that putting it somewhere with the highest traffic possible might be the way to go, just because it's going to help us spread the message.
Agreed. Yeah, we want a place where a lot of people would go and see it, because if we promote the project, it's, these things are designed for news to pay attention, and people want to see it. And if you have an embassy, you want people to go to it. So absolutely, it may be worth it, like you're saying. Put it in LA, regardless, just because the amount of foot traffic's there. And things are starting to open up a little. And I went to the other California Museum exhibit recently, and you can go in even with coronavirus protocols. So maybe an embassy that is open to the public with coronavirus protocols in LA gets the most foot traffic and allows us to publicize this idea as much. And, you know, the sister one would be in Tijuana. And for people in LA, it's not a big deal to go to Tijuana. It's just like a 3-hour drive. They think it's fun. So we're building these two embassies together. It's a joint publicity project. LA makes it close for some people, especially Latinos, to be able to go to the one in Baja because it's right in Tijuana on the border. And then the one in LA. On the other hand, if you put it in San Diego, then it's right here. But San Diego's expensive. It doesn't have as many foot traffic.
Yeah. Yeah. I had much that same thought of, you know, right there in San Diego. But yeah, it would not be feasible with I mean, the price of renting a cupboard there would be probably enough to bankrupt the organization.
Yeah.
I mean, not that we would be hard to bankrupt, right? We're not a bunch
It's
of
yeah, but it's just super expensive.
billionaires here. Yeah. So speaking of expensive costs, do you happen to have any sort of rough guesstimate on how much it might cost to start it? Like how much was put into the current one that we have open? If you know a figure off the top of your head.
The current one that we have open was the nonprofit agreed to host the space. So that one is of no cost. The one in Baja, if they had the money, they said they would host the space. They just don't. And so we offered, in order to make it happen, to pay them rent that they would pay on it. And I think the price, same thing, you know, where exactly in Tijuana do you want it? Like where everybody is and stuff like that, or not? I think it went from basically $50 to $300 for a month.
Okay. So then we'll probably need to gather funding enough to secure a place so that we could afford to keep open for one whole calendar year at least. And that will give us time to start the process of the continual fundraising to keep it open. Yeah.
Yeah, that would be the idea.
Okay. Yeah. And so you said, what was that, 400 to 600?
It seemed like it was about $50 to $300. So
okay.
$50, $50 to $300 total.
Okay. And that's per month.
Per month. Because we're basically getting like what's a, you know, kind of a closet space. It doesn't necessarily have to be for living. It doesn't necessarily have to be large enough for retail. Essentially, it's almost like a converted storage. And so because of that, you can get something much cheaper. And that's why.
Now, what about banners and such?
I haven't priced banners recently. Usually you can order them online, vinyl banners. And
do you happen to remember just kind of a rough figure on how much was spent on banners for the Moskva?
I don't. I'm sorry. That was years ago.
Okay. No, that's fine. I was planning on sending Lewis a nice private little message about a happy birthday anyway, so I may request to pick his brain and see if he's got those figures somewhere. Ultimately, my thought is that the banners, the signage and stuff. I mean, if we could find something $50 to $100 a month down there that would suit the needs and not be tacky, right?
Right.
Obviously, if it's tacky, it's not suiting the needs. So something that suits the needs for like 50 to 100, then the main cost would be the banners, and that would be the one-time cost.
Yes. The banners are posters, so you can put up really just decorations that look nice and professional. It's almost like an art gallery. You take the space and you put up some nice printed posters or banners. The banner definitely has to be about their organization and their logo, and then one for Yes California. But the rest could largely be, and then a banner that says embassy. Usually in the format of the one that was in the Moscow embassy. But a lot of the other stuff can be posters, basically foam mounted posters that you can get printed off anywhere, especially cheaper online. I think the posters can cost maybe 20 to 30 bucks if you get like a 2 to 3 foot size poster printed online. Vinyl banners run from $200 to $400. Good ones. Of course, all of this is much cheaper in Mexico. And so for theirs, we might be able to pay them like a fraction of the price. I'm not going to estimate. I wouldn't be able to. Over here, to buy all the banners and all the posters, I don't know, $100 to $200 for a couple posters, $200 to $400 without checking into it on vinyl banners. That's me lowballing and not really looking into it. That would be the cost for the embassy here in Los Angeles.
So would you say for the one-time cost, maybe $1,000 would cover all banners and signage and whatnot?
Oh, definitely.
Okay.
I think so. You could probably get away with it for less, but yes. Yes, I think so. I'm going to show them the distance from LA to Tijuana, so it's about 2 hours. So in theory, if this is what the embassies or cultural centers were, you could zoom in right here in Tijuana. Tijuana's not that big. And to get from basically Tijuana all the way up to somewhere in Los Angeles is 2 hours. And if you're looking at the southern part of LA, that's like Santa Ana, Fullerton, Anaheim, it's only an hour and a half. So many people will drive from LA to the Tijuana one if they're comfortable with crossing the border, which a lot of Latinos are. And they'll find this novel to have these two embassies that are in relation to each other popping up at the same time. The big question is, I don't know how much the rent is going to be in LA, but we want a good place. We want it in a high foot traffic area. LA, we might be able to get something donated where somebody has an office and they're willing to say, I have this room in my office and I'm willing to have it open sometimes to the public. That's a possibility for us.
Gets me thinking about road signs and how, like, all over California, even though the missions were so terrible and did such atrocious things, we've got these little brown state historic signs all over the place, and they're like, California, state historic site up ahead in 3.5 miles or whatever, the mission of Archangel San Rafael or whatever, right? Makes me wonder if there's a way to legally go about, once we do have both of these embassies up, to have a road sign somewhere in Tijuana that says, how many kilometers away the Baja embassy is up in LA, and then in LA, how many miles away the California embassy is in Baja.
Ah, yes. And that was
I don't
another.
know if it's possible, but if it is, it's something we could potentially look into once we've actually got everything up and running. Nice little marketing, ploy type thing.
Well, that was the other half of it was LA is crawling with Latinos, and they will all get this idea because they all know they're either Baja people or they're from Mexico, the mainland, and they already know Baja people are different. So one of the things MIBC taught us was that everybody in Mexico already knows that the Baja people are different and are already talking about independence. And they view them as like these faraway land of people who are way too American for their tastes. And so launching an embassy in LA with a commensurate sister one or whatever partner in Tijuana it's going to be something everyone in Mexico is going to get. And everybody who travels across the border, which a lot of people do back and forth, they're all going to get. So there's a huge audience. And LA to Tijuana is only an hour and a half too. So we are going to be reaching a lot of people who will get this message and be able to travel between both embassies. So we launch them at the same time, we promote them at the same thing. And one of the market effects or commodity, not, one of the benefits financially of this is that we're looking at a customer base for this product, this idea, this promotional concept, and getting them talking about it. That doesn't just live in LA or Tijuana. In fact, it's a group that travels, or at least a lot of them travel back and forth between the two. What that means is that we have economies of different economies, and we can play the price of the market against itself. So we can advertise to this group in Tijuana where it's cheaper, knowing that they will travel back to LA and spread the word. And so this part of it, our money goes way further buying billboards in Tijuana, and we can be sure the message will still get up to Los Angeles.
Yeah, no, I like the sound of that. It's sounding more and more like LA is going to be the place for it.
And we can put it anywhere in LA. That's the one good thing. It just needs to be in a place that's accessible with high foot traffic.
Yeah. So need to search. Oops, there's an A in there.
So it could be downtown LA, which is cheap, and a lot of people would not rent because it gets a little dangerous at night. But our embassy is only going to be open during the day, in which case everybody goes to downtown LA. It could also be in El Monte, kind of like a horror area, but not super dangerous. Or it could be more towards Orange County and away from the LA core. There's a lot of price aspects to where we can locate this embassy. We don't have to pick the most expensive part of Los Angeles. We can pick, it has to be safe during the operating hours.
Because you mean it doesn't have to be directly under the Hollywood sign?
Correct. So when we're looking at LA, the price of real estate in California is expensive, but yes. So we have a lot of wiggle room. We can buy something cheap in Tijuana, we can advertise cheap in Tijuana, and we can get something that's in a poor, less desirable neighborhood, but is still safe and able for people in LA to easily get to.
Yeah. Yeah, well, and then, good old LA traffic, that good old grapevine.
They have a great Bay Area-like metro system now, and we can pick a location that's near metro. so that we're
I
especially
think
accessible.
that might be a wise choice.
Well, brother, you are always reminding me of being concerned about all the people here in California. A lot of Latinos don't have money or a car, but they can't take transit. So smart. We should put this along transit lines.
Yeah, and speaking as someone else who doesn't have a car, yeah.
That's why I brought it
I
up.
totally back that up.
That's why I brought it up, is that your life experience constantly enables you to remind the rest of us to be considerate of, frankly, a huge section of the population. And forgive my privilege. I'm very concerned about Latinos, but I totally blanked on making sure that we would allow affordable transportation to this embassy. And you called it out. Good call. Right?
Well, thank you.
So
Yeah.
we want people to.
Yeah. And hey, it further proves to anyone who's going to listen or watch later, it doesn't matter how good any one of us is at something or even a whole lot of things. It takes many hands to put this building together. It takes many heads coming together to get the electrical, the plumbing, all of everything to actually working order, right? We can help each other refine and build better, but ultimately no one person can do this. And it's just more proof. Teamwork makes the dream work, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So let's move on to timeline. Do you happen to remember how long it took from the time that you and Lewis decided, yeah, you know what, we're going to do this thing, to when it actually opened? Do you happen to know how long that was?
Not more than, it was like 2 to 3 months, but a lot of that was not the time to put it together. It took 2 weeks to put it together. Really like 8 days. So we ordered all the material online. Took about, so you're limited by the speed at which they can produce it and ship it out, which is about a week to 2 weeks. And then we waited a few months for a formal, yes, here's the spot. So we thought we would get we thought we might get access, and we had some initial inklings, and there was some positive receptions to the idea, and so we promoted that in order to get publicity. But it took a couple months for the final firm, yes, definitely, it's cool if you can do this. And then once we had that, it was about 2 weeks to get everything printed and ordered. So this can go as fast as you get permission and you can get the equipment there. And if you pre-order the equipment, then that time is shrunk. And if you don't advertise until you have a formal okay, which we didn't, then, and like Baja, it would be a formal okay. You know, we could work out, here's the location. Yes, here's the rent. Oh, you paid the rent. Great, we have it. And you already decorated it. Or we ordered the material and then we tell people in 2 weeks we'll launch this whole thing. You could do that. Or you could wait until you have the material decorated and then go announcing this embassy. So those are the issues. Okay. How long to get permission? How long to get material printed? The good news is that everything is cheaper and more available online to order than when we were doing that.
Yeah.
You can get more stuff easier.
Yeah, I remember that rogue banner drop that you and I did years ago.
Oh, yeah.
While the American government was doing the classic move of waving one hand in the air saying, watch this hand. while their other hand is dipping into our pockets and stealing our wallet, cards and everything, not just the cash. Your ID, your social security card, everything.
That was 2016.
Yeah.
The guy before Trump.
And I remember that banner was really well made. It was very sturdy. We actually ended up going all out on the mounts and cables to hang it with, just because we were like, wow, it's actually got some weight and some substance to it. And like, this thing's no joke, right? It's not just some flimsy one-ply sheet of paper here. Nice vinyl, like textile banner, like, wow, that was a nice one. And I remember when we went to pick it up, and I had asked, like, how much was this? And I can't remember the price off the top of my head. I just remembered that I was blown away that it was not anywhere near as expensive. Like, I thought it was like $1,000 banner or something. It was kind of sizable and, very, very HD image on there. And it was super cheap. And it was done here in the Bay Area, no less. So this makes me hopeful that we might be able to, and I know any sort of paper stuff we could probably get California Green Press to, print some stuff for us.
That's a good point. They do print posters at a cheaper amount. Good point. And that California Green Press is right north in City of Industry or Vernon or something near LA.
Yeah. Well, and because this is a joint venture thing, I would really, I'm all for having like some stuff printed down in Tijuana or just anywhere in Baja, and then some of it being printed here in California. That way it's not like, only a California business can make any sort of, financial gain on this. Because we're not like that, right?
No, we want to support California businesses, but we're open to all of that. I'm about the price. I think for this it's fine. Yeah. We want to get because it's this game. You want to go spend everything on this one project? You can do it. We could do that.
Yeah, but what about we're not going to have any resource for the next good idea.
Exactly. Yeah. So I mean, I don't ever. People are like, "Well, you can't do it." It's like, no. We can, but and I've seen a lot of activists do this, where they go, "Let's go all out. I don't want to look second class on this," and they do because they think it's going to be the greatest thing ever, and it works. But then this other incredible chance thing lands from the sky a week later, and you have no resources to put into it. And it would have been bigger if you had a fraction of the resources available. So, don't, what is that? Don't put all your eggs in one basket.
Yeah. Don't count your chickens before they hatch, and don't put all of your eggs into one basket.
That is activism right there. 2 lessons, big for activists. It's that old school wisdom, swear to God, big lessons for activists.
And now this really is kind of leading into the marketing type stuff because of fundraising, right? So yes, California can officially take funds now, or donations, right?
True.
We can accept.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking that we need to start developing some sort of plan, some sort of fundraising idea, something I mean, it could be as simple as saying, hey, everyone, if you support Baja, if you like Baja, yada, 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 right, then donate here because this is what we're doing with the folks of Baja. It
Good
could
idea.
be as simple as that. It could be that we want a much more nuanced approach. Could be that we decide bake sales are the way to go, right? Now, given COVID and all that, the cleaning standards, I have always operated to a European level of food health
Okay.
safety, but most of the United States of America, including here in California, does not operate that way and has not ever. And that's why it's been like such a hard, like, wait, we have to do all of this. Yes, it's called bleach. You put a capful into a gallon of hot water, right? You wipe down every single thing. If you
All
can touch
right.
it, you wipe it down, right?
Okay.
So maybe not bake sale, but there's got to be something that we can do, right? Opening a art gallery display or something, that could be another, another means for it. Obviously, it would take donated gallery space and showing time, but if it was a possibility, I think it would be worth pursuing. So I think maybe over the next 2 weeks, I would like to see us formulate a nice little list of suggestions, ideas on how we might be able to go about fundraising. And who knows if we'll only need let's see, 1,200 for the year of rent, and then another grand to cover all of the one time. Be like 2,200 to start up, and this is total ballpark, low ball, right?
Right.
But if it was only 2,200 that we needed to start up the Baja Independencia embassy, theoretically, if we were able to raise $5,000 and we only needed 2,200 for it, theoretically, yes, California could then take that surplus and put it towards the next big project. And
as long as we didn't preclude ourselves from that.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to say. And if we're making it specifically embassies fundraising,
there you go.
Then any surplus would just be, used for the next embassy project.
Yeah.
That's my thought. You agree?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a good idea. You showcase the Baja embassy, the two linked embassies, and you just call it an embassy fund, saying we're going to do awesome stuff like this, which the majority of the funds will go to. But it doesn't. If you say it that way, yeah, you're not lying to anybody when you direct funds to other embassies. You said it's like this, and that fund does get the bulk share of it, but you're not limited. Yeah. I think that's a brilliant idea. And we are a 501c4. We can start fundraising. And I think they just have to use the identifying ID. And yeah, there's $1,000 or less, because how much of this can we get down in Tijuana? And how much of it can we get donated for the printing of the stuff at the Cultural Center / aka Not a Real Embassy. And then there is the monthly rent of LA and that. And that's another thing of where do they pick it in Tijuana, and where do we pick it in LA, and can we get it donated? Because technically, it could be like an office somebody has, and they have an extra room, and they're just saying, well, you can convert that room, and the public can come and go see that. And if you decorate that room really nice, then that's cool. So there's wiggle room. It's very doable.
Nice. Well, so that brings me on to the next. I think this may be a longer discussion than we really have time for because we've got like 12 minutes left. So I may table the Wings of Scotland Alba party. Do we reach out to SNP or Alba or both? I'll table that discussion for next week.
Okay.
Tabled to next week. Then the next topic is the announcement to Daniel Rice, our ambassador to the Cal Exit movement from the Texas National Movement. And this is our formal way of saying, folks with the Texas National Movement, everything that you've heard us discussing here with Baja and this embassy project, this applies directly to you as well. We would like to have one of these cultural embassies open up between Texas and California. So there's our official statement on it, right? So we know that both of our parties are supportive to one another, and though we don't see eye to eye on every issue, we do have a lot of similarities, such as valuing freedom and independence. So, and actual true democracy and, legitimate representation, stuff like that. It all sounds very America, really, which is funny, to be a true American, you have to break away. That being said, folks of Texas, we would be honored to have an embassy of the future independent Republic of California anywhere in Texas, any future independent nation of Texas, and to have a counterpart on the other end. So to have a Texas nation embassy here in California. So, folks from TNM, please hear this loud and clear. Our group desires this, and we would love to work with you fine folks on making this happen. So that concludes the announcement. Topic number 8 was a possible quick discussion, and I think that we may also want to table this one because discussing how to do a virtual tour on the one embassy that we do have open may take a little bit longer than 8 minutes.
True.
What do you feel?
Well, I think we could talk about what it is a little bit. Just because it is the model for all other embassies.
Okay.
How it's set up, what it roughly is. I know we've done this a million times, but there it is. If I can, I have an email that I sent you, and if I can get it to display, then that would be one thing. Let me see if I can do that.
If you do screen share with emails and stuff, it's going to show my email address, and that's not my CalExit Congress email that I use.
Good point.
Yeah.
Oh,
my private email.
Yeah, no, good point. 1 second here. I'm double checking. So yes, it does not. Good point though.
Okay.
It lists your name, but good point. This one doesn't. But just to be sure, get rid of that. Let me double check. And it's going to depend if I can get the photos to show. Okay, so 1 second here. Let me see if I can. Just a second. Seriously? Okay. Okay, I have a couple of photos I could show if you want.
Okay, sure.
Application window. All right. Let's see. Okay. It's the Independent Republic of California Embassy in Moscow. Here's a map. There's a couple articles about it. There's a great article here at Atlas Obscura about it, and it's still there. Here's an example of some of the posters I was talking about. So this is a simple poster you can order online. It simply says a date and then a civil rights thing that happened with California. So we were actually celebrating gay rights in Moscow, Russia, which I loved because people were saying, oh, you guys are bigots and all this stuff. And I go, who else is celebrating gay rights in Moscow? And no one had it. Well, yes, California was. So say what you will. The media chose to not print anything about that, coincidentally. Here's a picture of Jerry Brown with a quote. So this is like a $30, $40 poster here if you order it online, or at least it was 3-4 years ago. And now with everything print on order, I think I saw someone print out this beautiful big 3-foot, 4-foot poster for like $30. So that's easily this one.
Wow.
So, and that was like 3 months ago before coronavirus. And I think printing prices have gone down even more because people aren't shopping in person. So here's a poster. Here's a poster. Here's more posters. It's just a picture of visit California. Check out Los Angeles. Here's a picture of Los Angeles. Check out Monterey. Here's a picture of Monterey, Lake Tahoe. I forget, it was Santa Clara Mountains. So you would pick different cities and features, and they'd all have the same look. And it's just a photo of them. So almost like a half tourist office, and then posters in the background. And those are 2 separate events that we had done. And then, of course, you'll need to have this banner here. Welcome to the Embassy of the Independent Republic of California. I think that's about 8 feet long by 4 feet wide. That's about, well, I haven't priced that out recently, but I would be surprised if it's more than 400. So if you have those things, you can post them up in what's otherwise just a room that's been cleaned and painted with white paint. And that will allow you to have the appearance of a cultural center / embassy. And there you go. So now people can see what it's supposed to look like, and we'd really like to have one, and uh, a couple of the candidate areas here that we're looking at. And we were almost ready to do it. Jay Chavez had some personal issues he had to attend to, nothing but respect. Life happens. But basically, we were already lined up for all that. I mean, that was damn near good go. Coronavirus also put a real crunch in that. If coronavirus hadn't happened, we might already have had that embassy up in Tijuana. No garbage. Like already done. So.
Well, and it's going to be quite the statement and the testament to our abilities if we're able to open up not just one, but multiple. I mean, opening up any while still dealing with pandemic says a lot about our abilities, our capability, right? As well as our drive. But if we're able to open multiple this year, I personally would like to see as many of these cultural embassies opening up around the world this year as possible.
That's the goal. And I don't see why not. We've already had a couple different foreign countries approach and speak at our meeting. So if you're already willing to do that, then it's not that hard to get them to say, hey, would you like to promote your independence movement too? And by the way, we're really good at this. We know exactly what to do, and we'll help share the message. It's, do you like chocolate cake? No. Get that tasty cake away from me, buddy. It's free. Oh, well, I definitely don't want that chocolate cake. It's
not free German chocolate cake. Oh, no.
Yeah, it's German chocolate cake. It's beautiful. I'm eating a slice of the cake, so you know it's safe. And I'm literally just giving you a slice. No strings attached. Why? Because I think you like my cake, and I just want you to tell people that. No!
Yeah.
Okay. That's basically what we're doing. And the key part is if you can get them to a meeting and they can talk, that seems to do everything, because being treated with respect and being allowed to say your message exactly how you want it said, and nobody argues with you, and people just go, yeah, I get it. It means a lot to many of these people. And if you can just get them to a meeting and just say, hey, talk for 5 to 10 minutes or more about your group, and no one's going to interrupt and no one's going to say anything mean. They may have some questions, but it's just you explaining your thing. They're looking for this. Independence movements are always looking for people to get their message out to. Scotland might be the only one that's like, we've got enough media. Everybody else don't have that. And so a friendly face, a comfortable environment, and being able to prove it, because we have videos where we've had other independence movements come out and speak, and they were treated well, so they can see for sure it's going to be safe. And we get it out to 160,000 people, and we have a publicity project that'll probably work. It's a done deal. We just got to get more name recognition. Having a second embassy would announce to the world and all of these independence movements that this possibility is open to them. If we get a second one up, that'll get in the news because of the Moscow one. Once that's in the news, then everybody's going to go, well, why did you do it? Because we want to have as many embassies as you've ever thought of this year. I mean, what you just said is a great talking point. Why did you launch this Baja embassy or this other embassy or this Scotland embassy? Because we want to have, we want to launch a bunch of embassies before the year's out. Ugh, nice.
Yeah, and I think it's important to note that while Scotland now has like 98% of its voting populace in favor of independence, excuse me, and they have, world recognition. The world has been talking about them, a lot of last year and so far all of this year. And, the YouTuber that I had pointed out, that he's an Englishman and he lives abroad. He lives in Prague, right? And he's got like 7 or 8 different YouTube channels. They're all very good, very popular, very informative too. And like, even though he's an Englishman, he was just very, he's the type of person that when he sees an orange, he's going to call it an orange, not an apple. No matter what people might want him to call it. If it is an orange, he calls it an orange, right?
Right.
There's lots of cases of human stupidity that he covers, and he's just like, oh my God, come on. Right? So this guy, even mentioning Scottish independence and talking, he equates Boris Johnson to Donald Trump, as most of the world does. And, he even admits, my fellow Englishmen may not be happy about this, but really, I understand why Scotland wants its independence. They are a different people, and they have been pushing for it for a long time, and they have been righteously screwed by the British government for like a long time.
Yeah.
And he, as an Englishman living abroad, has seen very clearly that without a doubt, Scotland will be independent. It is going to happen this year. And if you look at the projections, the numbers, it all says that. It's not just, some random YouTuber saying it. It's the actual global political statistic saying, yeah, unless they just decide at the very last second just not to do it, then it's going to happen. And so they don't really need to push media now. But 6 years ago, 8 years ago, they did. 6 years, 5 years ago, we were talking with folks and they didn't even know that, like Cal exit from Brexit. What's Brexit? Now everyone and their mom and their dog and their goldfish knows exactly what Brexit is and how bad it is, right? Even folks in America know about Brexit now. But back then, not so much. And because folks didn't really know about it and weren't really tuning into, I guess, European issues, it was hard to explain to folks all about Scottish independence movement and, right to self-determination. And, fast forward 5-6 years down the line, things have changed because we've been at it so long. The SNP has been at it so long. They've got their message out, right? So it shows to us that we are on the right track. We are getting there. And that we should definitely continue with it, and that at some point we won't need to. It's not an endless uphill battle. It's once we get to a certain point, we won't need to hardcore focus on that part of it anymore. But for right now, yeah.
Exactly. I was showing pictures of CBS media saying that California, if it ever secedes, would get international recognition. And the reason that the CBS News was saying that was because of the embassy. So if you remove the name of the country, it's one of the largest media organizations in America saying this theoretical crazy idea of California becoming a nation, well, they would just achieve one of the key things you have to do to benchmarks to achieve legally becoming a sovereign state, and that is international recognition, or frankly, recognized nations saying that they recognize you publicly. the embassy tacitly allows them to do that. And so every embassy that we do because it raises the profile of the idea that California could, because it already has so many connections around the world and is already so popular, it would get the recognition that it needs if it seceded. That's what the embassies do. They get the news to recognize that, yeah, if California left, this country they put this embassy in probably would say, yeah, we're cool with you. And that is the thing that makes this serious in the world of international legality and its ramifications. Very important for us to recognize.
Yeah, and lest we forget, most of the world wants the goods that are produced here in California.
Yeah.
Especially our produce.
Yeah.
So yeah. I would like to potentially, at a later date, I'd like to think about maybe having the entire Calexit Congress, or as many of us as can attend, to do a virtual tour, virtual walkthrough of our Moscow embassy.
Yeah, I think that'll be possible soon. Part of the reason was that coronavirus made it really difficult to go do anything. But that's also opening up because the vaccines are going there too. So I think basically the embassy will be, or the building that it's in will be more available for the public to go to. In which case, what we would do is have the Yes California ambassador to Russia go to the Yes California Independent Republic CA embassy and, you know, take his phone or basically log into a Zoom meeting or StreamYard like this. We could invite him into, Lewis gets invited to a StreamYard meeting and he just has his camera on, in which case he's using probably his phone to participate in the meeting. He could also use a laptop and he would simply take that with him and show us the whole embassy live in a meeting. And we could do that on Zoom or we could do it on screen. Either one.
Awesome. I'd say let's reach out to Lewis about this. Obviously not right now because he's probably still celebrating his birthday. But yeah, let's reach out to him and see what platform and, you know, just logistically what would work best for him. I think that everyone in the Congress should be familiar with the cultural embassies and what they are, what they aren't, what they look like, right? And this is a great way to make sure we're all on the same page.
I agree. Yeah.
It also kind of, you know, like you were saying, if he was like able to use his phone and just, you know, give us a walkthrough of the place, I mean, that shows people this is a very real place. It is a very real thing.
Yeah, that's an easy setup to do. Basically, we could have people come to the meeting. We could announce it at a meeting that we'll do a future virtual tour of the Yes California Embassy. Maybe that'll get more people to come out to the meeting, and then Lewis could do it live. Live show is always interesting. Or he may have to make a video because they're 12 hours on a different schedule, or he may have to make a video and we show it, or we may have to book a meeting that's going to be at some weird time like midnight and have the virtual tour that people could go, because he's like, it's 12 hours difference. So they're like just about to get up in an hour. So we're looking at somewhere around midnight if we're doing a live one, which, hey, never know. People
Or
might
maybe
show
we
up for
could
that.
do, if he would be willing to do an early morning thing at like 8 or 9 in the morning for him. That would be 8 or 9 in the evening for us. But then
Yes,
it would have
and
to
with the
be one of
building.
those days where it's not a school day because obviously he would have work the next day.
It would be, yes, and the building has to also be open at that time. So I'm not sure if they open up at 8 a.m. or if they're like they
Yes.
open at 10. So there's some
Okay.
timing
Yeah.
that would have to be done. Blah, blah, blah. We'd have to talk to them about a time that it could go and then book the meeting around that, recognizing it could be something of a strange time or he does a video.
Yeah. So just some logistical stuff to fine tune, but
Yeah.
sounds like we are in agreement that it would be a good thing to pursue and put together. Yeah.
I think it'd be great for the video. A virtual tour of the infamous Moscow embassy. Come and see what all those stories were about. Yeah, that's hot. I'd say we do it live. If we could pull it off, I'd love to do it live and just tell people come out at this time, whatever it is. Live shows are always
Yeah.
better. I know I could get at least a couple of us to come at whatever time it is, if enough warning. And then you'd have us interacting with Lewis while he's at the embassy, which really shows the international grasp. Sorry, the brain's shutting off. Grasp and breadth of reach that we have,
Yeah.
which would be a great, great, great show for the Congress. I would love to do a show like that. Just like going to that museum exhibit, right? Like that wasn't anything. I just went there and filmed, but I'm already having people going, oh, I saw that video. It's different. That's a hot video. Live with an audience is hot. We have to settle for him doing a tour on a recorded video, okay, but people love interaction and live and commenting and live interaction. I would push for that if there's any way we can make that happen. I mean, it's whatever you and Lewis work out, but that would be my take. Like, let's try to get some time where we could, like you're saying, late evening. Like maybe we convince him to wake up early, get there at the earliest time, and blah, blah, blah. Or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Whatever logistically works out best for him, I think, is going to be the foremost thing. And then we work on it from there. But something does tell me a specific, event, do it like an event, right? A specific time and date aside from everything else.
Sure. Like the recall debate. It's a separate event.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're cool with it, I'm sure Lewis is. And he's probably going to have some more free time coming up. So if you get a chance to ask him, like, is the building open? I can ask him too. It's just, blah, blah, blah stuff.
Yeah.
I think
Well, he's a birthday, a newborn daughter who's like a little over a month old now, right? So still very little, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So we can do this, and we might be able to do it in the next few weeks. It's just if that building's open, I think he's available. Paulina's healthy now, and so he's able to just nap with her. And frankly, because he's trying to watch his daughter, I've seen this. It's easy to do computer work. You have to sit there with your kids and watch them. They kind of pass out, or they play games. You just kind of need to be there. My brother does this. It's easy to get some computer work done. So he might be more available. But we need to travel to the embassy. Yep. We got to find out when that building's open. That's the key.
Okay. Nice.
That's key.
Alrighty.
Key.
Well, yeah.
I was told that my Russian accent sounds like an Italian man speaking Russian, which I guess that's cool.
It does. It does. But hey, that is cool. A little extra culture in some cultural culture.
Yeah. Yeah.
In cultural exception.
I guess culturalception. Yeah. That'd be a great show. A tour of the Moscow embassy. That'd be a good show. That'd be really hot. Yeah. Yeah, dude, that's a great idea. And I don't know if you can see, but you can hear that? I'm clutching pearls on behalf of all the people who will clutch their pearls when that happens. So.
Alrighty. Well,
yeah.
I think that about covers it all for tonight's meeting. Is there anything that you'd like to add?
Just look at these pearls being clutched. That's what's going to happen when we do this. So. Nope, that's it. You take us out, brother. Your show. Whatever you want to say. Your closing comments.
Alrighty. Well, this has been the International Outreach Committee meeting for Yes California's CalExit Congress on Sunday, March 28th of 2021. Thank you all for joining. Stay safe.